Hey, good evening. Welcome, everyone. As a matter of fact, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure what time zone you're in, but welcome to the Foreign Link Up. This is where we link up with our Trinis, our Trinbagonians living around the world. They're doing so many different things. We have musicians, we have art directors, we have fashion designers, we have, oh my gosh, we have chefs. Yep. And today, episode 2, we are joined by Chris de la Rosa, celebrity chef. He's here with us finally. Chris, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, good evening. How you doing? Trinidad and Tobago, nationwide, USA, everywhere. I guess we global.
Yeah, well, maybe even in other planets too. Who knows? The way this thing is going, man. It's such a pleasure, man, to have you, Chris, because I've been trying for the longest while. I said, I gotta get Chris on the show. But Chris hard to find. He likes some good dasheen bush. Yes, can't find him. Yeah. But we got him. We got him. Yeah, man.
I think we had originally chat about this a few months back, quite a few months back, and yeah, like good dashing bush, things just haven't come to place, come to
Yeah,
happen, eh?
man. Yeah. You know,
Hmm.
it's amazing because I've been a big fan for the longest while. I have been playing your videos on my radio show, because I love the fact that we have, a son of the soil living abroad in a temperate country, which is Canada, by the way, guys. And you've been whipping up all your different Caribbean dishes as if you're right here at home. I'm like, how the heck does he do that? How does he get all of the ingredients? Does he import the ingredients? Does he grow them himself? I got to realize after a while that you do grow lots of the ingredients yourself. You got your little backyard garden going on, which is great. But I guess when the winter comes around, that's another story. I mean, how does it work for you? Which is our topic for today, by the way.
Yeah,
Being able to create Trini dishes or Trinbagonian dishes when you're living in other countries. What are the
you
challenges?
know the challenges. The challenges used to be many years ago. You look at the late 80s, early 90s when I moved to Canada. My cousin and my sisters were in university here,
Yeah,
and I moved in. I never came back home. Well, I come home twice, three times a year now. But back then, you couldn't find anything. And, over the years, because of immigrants coming from Asia and, like the Philippines, Southeast Asia, all those different countries,
yes,
Central America, throughout the Caribbean, we have such a vibrant community here that all those ingredients, you can find it. However, there's still some things you can't find good quality because we spoke about dashing bush there.
yes,
Within a day or two, that's going to wilt. It's going to start smelling bad. It's going to break
yeah,
down. So you will see
correct,
many of my recipes that calls for dashing bush. I would typically use baby spinach, which has the same sort of texture and flavor. And well, the flavor is debatable because if you're old school, you're old school, right? But
correct,
it gives me an opportunity to use something close to it. This is why
right. Improvise.
CaribbeanPop.com took off
Yeah,
because it allows people like myself who's living in North America or Europe or wherever where they can't get those ingredients. I offer substitutes to those ingredients. Now you mentioned my garden, and during the summer months I plant my especially Scotch bonnet peppers, the scorpion, the pimento, the
yes,
wiri, which Guyanese people love. We call it coffee pepper or cherry pepper home. And all you got to do is in the fall when it's harvest time, you harvest it, you wash them, you air dry them, and then you put them into freezer bags.
right,
And all winter I have those key ingredients in there. Now that doesn't mean to say I can't go to the Asian markets or the West Indian markets and get all those things. It's just that it's very pricey. So by
yeah,
doing that, it allows me to cut costs. And then my garden, it could technically be called an organic garden where I know there's no pesticides and all those things in
yes,
there.
exactly,
So this is where the control kind of thing comes in. I get to control what I eat, what I feed my daughters, what I feed my son. And at the end of the day, it allows for healthier food because of that, right?
correct, definitely.
Hmm.
That's a big thing because um, I was talking to you off air a little while ago about a friend of mine who is a doctor. He's
Hmm.
an alternative doctor, but he has knowledge of Western medicine as well, all facets of science. The guy is a genius, practically, right? And he also has lots of experience and practice in Chinese medicine, herbs,
Okay.
homeopathic medicine, right? Alternative methods. And he says, he has patients that come to him all the time, and many of them are gardeners, right? Now, hear this, they're gardeners, right? So they are, growing crops, and then they're spraying the crops, right? Now he's asking them, why are you spraying the crops? So he's like, they would tell him, okay, because we're spraying it so that no pests would come around, so that the pests won't attack it. But he's like, okay, so do you know that the plants have an ability to protect themselves from pests naturally? That's how they were created. That's how they were designed, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you're spraying them, how do you spray? And when do you spray? They're not even sure what they're doing, right? So they end up with a toxic body because they're spraying too much. They're overspraying and they're spraying themselves, it's blowing back on them, So to make a long story short, we have a lot of sprayed crops here in this country, and I'm sure many countries, and that's a big problem. That's a big
I'll
deal.
quickly share a story with you. My father grew up in Limong Road in Tabaquite.
Yeah.
So every time I go home, I go up there to visit family and stuff like that.
Right, right.
And him and I, we went through Nolly's Tunnel and we ended up in Brasso, Benao, Brasso.
Yes,
And
I
we're
love
coming
Rob.
through the forest back down into Guaracara, into Williamsville. That's where my village is, in Guaracara.
Right.
And I saw this garden up on the hills, and there was a plantation of hot peppers. I'm like, Dad, you think if I pull over, I can pull out the camera and do a video up there? He goes,
Yes.
yeah, but just if you see people, just let them know what you're doing, because you don't want them thinking you're stealing, right?
Right,
So
of
we
course.
pull over, and I'm walking up there, and yo, man, Alex, there was a barrel in the center of the acreage there,
Yeah.
and the smell was so strong with all these chemicals that were being mixed in that water to spray the plants and everything. I'm like, I can't film this. If I film this, then it opens up a can of worms. I will have to tell
Yes.
people that this is what you're
Correct.
eating. Do I want to go down that road now and make enemies of people in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, by saying what you're eating? And the sad reality is most people
Correct.
don't know that, right?
They don't
And
know.
yeah, I came back and all the empty containers were there. So here's the thing about that. Not only are we putting it onto the fruits and vegetables and everything that we're eating, you spoke correctly about it on us as well. But what happens
Yeah.
to our water system? That goes into the drain. It goes down
Correct.
into the rivers and streams and
That's right.
everything else. We're killing the entire environment by it, right? So it is something we got to take a closer look at some point. Well, sooner rather than later.
Correct. Correct. Because people are getting sick, and sometimes you don't even know where to start because
Yeah,
of all the different elements. But it's great. It's great that we're having this chat too. Because we get to educate. And get people thinking. So
yeah,
I'm so glad as well because I have personally I have tried a few of your recipes, quite a few of them, and I have to say, Chris, you taught me to cook. Now hear this, right? Hear this. When I was married for a long time, and I was never really one to cook like a lot of food. I would make a little breakfast meal, maybe a little something here and there, but never really to say, well, I could cook anything I want. No.
yeah, yeah,
It's only after my divorce is when I realized, wait, boy, life getting kind of hard. I can't be going around the corner and buying fast food all the time like this. It killing my pocket, it killing my body. I need to eat well.
yeah,
So I started watching little recipe videos. I went out and I bought all my pots and pans, all my utensils. I bought everything I needed. And I said, you know
yeah,
what? Let me go and start cooking. And then one of my go-to channels on YouTube was yours, Caribbean Pot. And I said, hey, this guy has something good going on. I could just search anything I want to cook and I'm finding it because you're cooking it
yeah,
and you make it simple. And because you have a great personality, it attracted me. I said, you know what, man, I'm going to cook with Caribbean Pot. And you have been in my kitchen for a very long time, Chris.
Yeah,
So thank you.
I get these stories just like yours from many people. Maybe a person married into a Caribbean family, or you have a child whose mother probably passed away, and they want to cook a meal for their father who has missed the
Right.
mom's cooking and stuff like that.
Yes.
Second and third generation Caribbean people, they want to learn their heritage and stuff like that. I try to keep it traditional, but you're gonna see different takes with my own personal touch, as well as based on what's available to me. We spoke about that earlier.
Yeah.
So sometimes
Right.
when I get the hate emails, well, that's not the right way to make it. Well, it is the right way for me based on what I have available in Canada. People just got to be mindful of that sometimes, right? But
Correct.
the most interesting one I had was years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, and I've been doing this on Caribbean Pot since 2009.
Right.
A person emailed me and said they turned their son, I think the child was 2 years old, and for them to go to bed, they turned the YouTube on and they would listen to my voice and I put him to sleep. So
Really?
his little comfort thing was sleeping. Maybe about 12 years later, I'm in the mall in Toronto,
Yeah.
and this person comes up to me and wants to hug me. I'm like, yo, I don't know you, man. You know me, but I don't
Yeah.
know you, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, it turns out to be the couple, and the little guy, he's all, well,
Oh.
it's like 12, 13 years old or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is the guy I was telling you about. I'm like, word, hey, look at that, man. It touches you a certain way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It would. It would. That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. And you know
You
the
know.
story behind Caribbean Pot was to sort of um, have recipes available for my daughters for when they go to university. They went to university, they're back home, and they still don't use my recipes, man.
Really.
No, but I'm home cooking, right? So they don't need to.
Man, and the way that you improvise, I like that as well. You know, if you don't have one thing, use something else. Now, what are the differences? Because I have a lot of shadow benny at home. As a matter of fact, you know, shadow benny grows everywhere in Trinidad, as you know. But then there's cilantro, there's culantro. What are the differences really?
Well, culantro is what we call shadow benny in Trinidad. It's called culantro when I go to the Asian markets and all those different places, or
Okay,
nagagao, and I think it's also called Mexican coriander.
coriander,
Cilantro
yeah.
is the other one that we typically didn't have in Trinidad for the longest while, but now I see, like when I went to the market in Debe, I saw it being sold there, and I know some of the Chinese purveyors up in town up there. A friend of mine was telling me that's where he gets it as well, and a few other places. But cilantro is a milder version. The thing about cilantro is, and it's used heavily in Mexican cooking, is for some people, a certain percentage of the world's population, they
Right.
get a soapy taste when they eat cilantro. And I've
Mm,
had someone who has that issue or problem or whatever you want to call it. But when I serve anything with shadow benny in it, which is culantro, they don't have that problem. I find personally our shadow benny is a stronger, more pronounced flavor, whereas the cilantro isn't. And
yeah.
cilantro is also called coriander for the people tuning in from the UK. They would know it as coriander, the same
Right.
coriander that bears the little seed that they grind and make in curry powder as well too.
Oh, yeah, because I heard a lot about coriander. I didn't realize that was also like family to the
So
shadow.
if you had coriander seeds and you planted it, it will grow into a cilantro tree, the herb. But now
Nice.
you say you have a lot of shadow benny. My dad was telling me, my
Yeah.
dad, they winter in the Caribbean right now, in
Yeah.
Trinidad, and he was saying the African snails they eat just about everything, even his shadow benny around the house, man.
Oh, yes, yes. No, they eat everything. They do. They do. I had a plant in the yard, and I didn't realize that that was their HQ. Yeah, they
Oh,
were
really?
just
Yeah.
that was their base in the plant. But the plant had a lot of thorny. It was a thorny plant. I think it was called a
Yeah,
crown of
yeah.
thorns, right? So I never really used to go into that plant too much. Just kind of give it a little water every now and then. But there were like hundreds of them in the plant. You know, it's only after a while the plant itself split open. And I was like,
Wow.
what's really going on here? You know, what's going on? Is it dying? And then I realized they were the snails. The snails were attacking the
Yeah.
plant, and it was crazy. So they do go and eat everything. They're all over the place. Yep, big problem. So they ate your dad, Shadow Benny?
They even eaten my dad's shadow benny, and the man is vexed because
Yeah.
he's always trying to bring back the root to be able to. I've tried planting it here. I bought the seeds. I've bought the shadow benny and got the little root, and I tried planting it, and
Yes.
nothing seems to work. But my dad, oh man, this guy, you never tell him you want something because the man will risk getting into problems at the airport by bringing the root part, the bottom part
Yes.
of the shadow benny plant
Yes.
for me when he's coming back. So last year I had quite a bit of it because he brought back the roots to me. But now the Asian supermarkets here, they have the plant selling now because the Thai and the Vietnamese, they use quite a bit of it in
Yes.
their cooking as well. So I usually get the plants from them. So I told him, Dad, no need. Don't bring no contraband into the people playing, please.
Right. All right. All right. So we actually have Sarojini and Lisa, right? So they're gonna join us right now. So let me just do my magic here, Chris, and get everybody in. Yeah, man, like one big happy family. All right, here we go. So boom, bam. This is interesting, right? Here we go. One, two, three, four. Okay, let's try that again. Da-da-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Two, three, four. All right. All right, let's do this. Uh-huh. Nice. Here we go. Woo! Everybody is
Hey,
here. What's going on? So
hey,
so let me just
Hi,
introduce.
everybody.
All right, so we have just below me is Lisa with Jaffier. She's out there in
hi,
New Jersey. Lisa, this is Chris from
hi, Chris.
Caribbean.com. He's in Canada. And then we have Sarojini, who's below Chris. Sarojini is from Montana. So
Montana.
Sarojini, that's Chris. Yeah.
Your neighbor.
I'm
Hi.
so glad everyone was able to make it and on time. Cool. There's some good scholars for you, right? 10
Yeah.
points. All right, awesome. So, well, yeah, Chris and I were chatting about, Trini meals and improvising with ingredients. We were even talking about, crops that are sprayed. I think Lisa got bumped off there, right? She'll probably try to come back on. So, yeah, and of course, it's always best to be able to cook from home. So, Saro, listen, Chris Sarojini cooked doubles. Did you make the doubles last week, Saro?
I did, and I still have some in the fridge because I have to stretch it out so I don't have to make it again in a hurry.
Whoosh! I love it. What is the process like? Because I know it must be. I mean, doubles people in Trinidad, they wake up real early in the morning, but they're making doubles for like the whole nation. So they would have like hours of preparation. How long did it take you to make all your doubles? The chana, the barra, and how much did you make?
I made, I think it was like 12 doubles, so that's 24 bara.
Right,
It probably took me about, in total, about an hour and a half, the
right.
way I do it.
Okay,
But I had my sauces done in advance though, so I cheated a little bit.
okay. Well, that's okay because I wouldn't even know how to begin making doubles. All right, so Lisa's back on. Great.
You
Yep.
know, Alex, one of the
Yeah.
things one of the things I see whenever doubles price go up in Trinidad, well, formerly Twitter, it's X now, you see people always ranting and raving about the price.
Yes.
But you look at it, took an hour and a half to make 12 doubles, and that is because she had the sauces made in advance, right? Of course, if you're a professional, you probably have your system down, do it faster. But the point is, I think people don't realize how much work goes into it. So when the price goes
Correct.
up, and we don't complain when KFC goes up, when everything else
No.
goes up, but we don't see a doubles person skill as being a skill. And I think it's unfortunate and sad because we gotta give this guy some props, man.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
for real.
that's right. My parents used to sell doubles, and that was like it took pretty much all day. I mean, you get up at 3 in the morning, and that's just for the fry side of things and cooking the chana. But like the evening before, all the preparation took place. So it's like you're pretty much working most of the day, and then it's very time consuming when you have to fry all that doubles if you were selling. So like when I make to take to work, it takes me a lot longer. I was only making 12, so it wasn't that much.
Right.
Just excuse me for a second.
Sure. Sure.
Hey.
That's pretty amazing. I applaud anyone that can make doubles. I've always now hear this, right? This is a fun fact. I stopped eating doubles. I
Sorry about
just
that.
that's
I have the
okay.
dogs inside because the snow is falling off the roof and there's ice
Oh,
up there, so I have to keep them indoors so they're a little bit touchy.
That's okay. This is so amazing because we have, I'm in Trinidad and Chris is in Canada. You're in Montana and Lisa's in New Jersey. Now check it out.
That's right.
Lisa and Chris, you guys are both an hour behind, right? In terms of the time. And
Right.
then Starro is 3 hours behind.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. So Sarah, it's actually what, like late afternoon on your end?
It's just after 4. It's
Yeah.
4:21.
People know if it was a weekday, you're getting ready to leave work.
Well, yeah, pretty
When we
much,
having
yeah.
dinner.
Yep.
Yeah. So
You
so
got it.
okay. So Lisa, Sarah said that she did doubles last week, and she has some put aside in the fridge. She's able to do doubles. So I guess you can get the chickpeas
Yes,
in any
you can.
part of the world. You can get the flour to make the doubles. So any ingredients you couldn't find, Sarah?
Well, yes and no. I had a work trip to Florida in November, and when I went, I loaded up on Trini stuff. I went to this Trini supermarket, so I got my shadow penny and hot peppers and a bunch of stuff. So everything I needed for the doubles this time around, I had it. But
Yes.
I'm gonna run out soon. I'm gonna run out soon, so I'm gonna try
That's
my hand at planting some of the cilantro, the banana again. I'm gonna try
Yes.
that.
yeah.
Awesome indeed.
Is the biggest problem trying to find our stuff in New Jersey. I have to go to Brooklyn to get anything that I need. That would be the pimentos, the bandana, all the seasonings, to the point where I started growing it here on my balcony, but they don't survive winter. So I
Okay.
have like a little like hydroponic type things where you have just the water, you have the plant with the root, and you feed the plant food or whatever. And that's just for the pieces to survive until it gets warmer, and then you put it in a pot and start the whole process again. But I go through this every year, so it's tough. If you have to go all the way to Brooklyn to get what you really want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember my aunt would do the same with her Spanish thyme or
The Spanish,
pudina. She would bring it in the winter time. All the leaves would fall out. You see two tiny little leaves,
yeah,
but in the spring when she puts it outside, she almost had to temper it. You put it out for a couple hours, you bring it back in, you put it out, or else it burns if it gets cold overnight, right?
yes.
I remember my aunt doing that, and then you wouldn't believe it's the same plant that took on a new life again in the summer, and then the whole cycle goes on again.
That's right. It's interesting to watch a cycle every year, but I mean, it's annoying to have to go to the lengths that we have to get seasoning. And every time I come to Trinidad, I come back with green seasoning and pimento, brown pimento, things like that. And I mean, you have to dole it out sparingly because you want your supply to
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's what we
Well, I guess in your case, you could just drive a couple hours and you're in Brooklyn, right? But if you're in
yeah,
Montana, there's nowhere to drive to.
Yeah. Might I take a
the only thing
helicopter
you
or
could do is
something?
plant it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to jump on a 3-hour flight or something to hit the Florida.
There you go.
There's this company in Florida called All from One Supply. I think I told Alex this before. I get like my wiri wiri peppers from there,
Yeah.
but
Right.
the problem is the packaging with, and I probably shouldn't have said the name, but they didn't package it too well. So by the time it got here, it was already like in stages of wilt. But I mean, if I was closer, it would have been great. But
Yeah.
now I just try to do stuff like during the spring and summer if I have to buy things. That way, it's not facing any risks in terms of damage while it gets here. Because in
Uh,
winter, packaging tends to deteriorate and all that when they leave it out.
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
so this is what we have to deal with, my friend.
Well, these are the challenges. So I mean, it's so there are limitations. You can probably maybe you might crave a nice oil down, but where you getting the breadfruit?
No,
Right?
that you could get.
You can get
That
the
you
breadfruit up there.
Yeah, you get that dashing bush. But of course, they call it different names here. So you have to get familiar with what the names are.
Oh,
If
okay.
you go to like a Puerto Rican grocery store, for example, you will find all the yam and dasheen, all the saltfish, everything. You will find everything in a Puerto Rican store or a
Okay.
Korean store, surprisingly.
Okay.
So,
You're
So
saying that, and I remember my luggage when I came back. I went with 2 suitcases, one inside another one, and I
yeah,
came back
I do
with
that.
rum and dashing fish, smoked herring, saltfish, banana peppers, the full works.
Alex,
Yes.
Alex, you hear those ladies? 2 suitcases,
Yeah.
and I'm outing my dad for bringing back the roots of 2 shallow Benny plant.
Are
Well,
you
that's
supposed to?
that's
Are you allowed to do that?
Imagine that.
I'll have to call him man
leaf
and
root.
apologize. Yeah. Oh
No,
Man.
man.
the thing is, what you could get stuck with at customs is if it's not cooked. So even
Oh,
if you
okay.
Yeah.
steam it a little bit, it passes for cooked, as far as I'm concerned. If you
Yeah.
steam
Yeah.
it just to clean the bacteria off or whatever, that's enough to say that it's cooked.
That's
So
the
We're
mistake.
lucky in Toronto. Toronto is
Yeah.
only about 45 minutes. Well, now it's an hour and a half, 2 hours because of traffic. It's always. But there is, I think, 1 or 2 flights out of Trinidad that brings in all the produce and stuff like that. So on a Tuesday, if you go to any of the West Indian markets, you get it fresh.
yes,
And what
Okay.
exactly.
doesn't come
That's,
from Trinidad comes from the Dominican Republic because you got some huge farms there, and
yeah.
everything is shipped up to us as well too.
All the pickles that I get are from Jamaica for the most part.
Right.
Out
Yeah.
of Jamaica, which is interesting to me.
Right. We got a couple little shouts here. I'm gonna put it up. Margaret says, let me see, put it up here. Right. Margaret says, COVID caused me to start making doubles my family, labor of love. Okay. So I know many people, thanks Margaret, many people became entrepreneurs, became cooks, became accountants, right?
Absolute fact. I was
Musicians
making roti
with
like
during COVID. Yeah, yep. And I even honed my cooking skills during COVID as well because you had to stay inside and you had to eat. So what you're gonna
exactly.
cook? Yeah. And would you believe I started loving cooking? I never thought the day would come when I would say, you know what? I'm going in the supermarket, I'm gonna get me, I have a list of all the ingredients I need, I'm gonna make whatever I want. And I just lay it out and I just put on my music, have a glass of wine, set the mood, and I cook in. And I'm loving it.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't realize dal puri could be so much excitement,
Valkyrie, I even start making roti as yet.
especially when you get it to swell, Saroj. When you get the roti to swell, you feel like, oh God, that's the best roti maker on the planet.
I'm
My
nodding, but I
roti
really
swell.
don't know.
And me, my brothers and cousins had a group chat going on a Sunday while we cooking.
Yes.
So we have the group chat going on. I making my callaloo and whatnot, and they making their roti or
Yep. Uh-oh. I think Lisa got bumped out there
kind
again.
of thing.
Okay, there you are.
So I had different things happening the whole time. It was like we used to call it the sibling cookout,
Okay.
sibling Sunday cookout.
All right.
We'd be
I need,
listening to Alex on the radio while we doing all of that.
oh,
That's
nice. I'm so glad to
so
have power that could. I remember that. I remember
yeah.
you would message me. Oh my gosh, gosh, my memories. Wow. So Hannah, so Chris was
Yeah.
saying that he's going to be doing some rebranding pretty soon, and that's actually something I'm looking forward to. So Chris, you ever thought of? I mean, every now and then you'd have, well, more than now, you'd have like a guest in your kitchen while you're cooking. I remember you had DJ Power with
That's
you,
right. Yeah,
and he
yeah.
made pillow, and I was like, what is my cousin doing with Chris? Right? I was like, I have to let Chris know. I have to let him know. So I Power actually reached out to me today. He's coming into Trinidad on a cruise ship, right? So he
Yeah,
did that
he's
last
doing that
carnival.
that cruise out of Barbados, I think.
Yeah. So he's coming in next week. So you know what? That the party starts. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, so doing what you do, Chris, it takes a lot, because you have like what thousands of recipes up there, a lot of different recipes, man, and you did all of them in Canada, most of them in Canada.
Majority, but lately you've been seeing a lot of people cooking with their mom in the kitchen and all that stuff like that, and people like, oh, that's unique, that's new. But I did that 10, 12 years ago. It's just when I cook with my mom when I'm in Trinidad. She's a very shy lady, so she barely wants even her hands to be on in frame. So this
Okay.
is why you never saw her. But So whatever recipes I didn't shoot here in Canada, I would have shot in Trinidad. For instance, the last time I was home, I think my dad and I, we went and we picked peas, pigeon peas, and my mom made curry pigeon peas, and you know, all of that was part of a vlog, kind of a recipe, all those different things in one. But for the most part, I'm looking into the doorway into my kitchen. It's all done right there in my everyday home kitchen.
Yes, yeah, and that's the amazing part. I think the most amazing part for me was that you could do it, you know, living in another country, you know, and all the meals are Caribbean, and there's so much variety, you know. And I realize you love your Caribbean sunshine, you know. You actually
I
turned me you turned me
the
onto pepper.
the
Yeah, yeah.
the
You know, most of them I plan during the summer months, as I said earlier. There, I plan them and then I freeze it. So unlike the ladies who have to take that drive or that airplane to get it, I have it in my freezer downstairs. And the one thing I always get, and you know, people from Norway, from Australia, from Singapore, they all want pimento seeds because they hear about these pimento peppers and they want the seeds. The thing is, I can't export it. It's illegal for me to put it in an envelope and ship it out somewhere because a good friend of
Oh,
mine from Norway wanted some. And he's like, let me check first to see if I can actually accept it when it comes to Norway.
right.
And there's rules and regulations because it's not from a facility that produces to sell. So unfortunately, anybody who's watching, I have seeds, but I can't send it to you.
You can actually get it on Amazon because
You
yes,
I
can.
purchased.
on Amazon. That's correct.
But have you
Yeah,
tried growing it though?
Yes, I
And
have.
did it grow?
yeah. I've tried.
I did
I've
put
grown.
that.
Yeah, I've grown hot peppers, cherry peppers, scorpion peppers. Well, of course, jalapeno grows here, but
I got
the
Spanish time
pimentos as well.
seeds.
Yeah.
I got Spanish time seeds, and they grew. I was amazed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well,
only
I
thing that didn't
bought
grow was the
two things.
cilantro, the
Two things
manzanilla
I
seed.
bought. Two things I bought on Amazon was the pimento seeds. And in Canada, unless you start it in the end of January indoor, it won't be ready because our growing season is short. So the end of May until September is all you have.
Yeah.
And the thing with peppers, it doesn't matter which type of pepper, they don't like being transplanted. It takes forever for when you transplant it for the root to establish. So the growing season is long. So if I do buy it, when it did work, it took forever. With the shadow benny, I bought 3, 4 times from reputable growers in the States, and they never grow. They
Yeah.
never
Yeah. My
germinated.
cilantro seeds never germinated.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah, it didn't even grow.
actual roots from Florida, Cuba,
Hmm.
from Florida, and I think they actually some I got ones from Cuba,
Yeah.
and they grew, but they did not live through winter, not at all.
You know what unique I did buy though, and it grew magnificent, but I didn't get any. Was on Etsy I bought sorrel, and the tree got tall, maybe about 4 feet tall. But
Yes,
again, because the winter comes in, the end, well,
there you go.
October really, but it didn't have enough time. But
Yes.
anybody came in the backyard and they saw the tree, they're like, "Oh gosh, we're drinking sorrel Christmas for sure." Not even a sorrel leaf.
Yeah, I
Well,
like dried sorrel from Jamaica, the Jamaica dried sorrel, and it's perfect, absolutely perfect. The same.
I recommend that highly. I prefer the dried sorrel now than the fresh one, to be
Me
honest with you.
too, me too, because it's potent.
Yeah,
It's
it
super
is.
potent, yeah. When you boil it, it's
I
black.
bought some
It's so rich, you know.
Yeah.
So
I had bought some cilantro plants online, and it live plants. It
uh-huh.
survived for about 3 weeks, but I think I couldn't get like the pH to remain how it should be. I couldn't transplant it or anything, so I just had pretty much the shelf life of the plant. So I got probably a few dozen leaves, and then the plant just died. And
Oh,
as
Oh,
for the peppers, I plant them in buckets, so I don't have to take it out.
oh, you
One tip one tip that was shared with me, because I usually have these conversations with on Instagram with people. I show them my garden and stuff like that. And it would get the flowers, a ton of flowers, but no leaves. And I was told that if you keep breaking the flowers,
yes.
pinch the flowers, toss it out, that's when all the
That,
energy would
that's
go to the
correct.
leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
Right.
I did last year, last growing season, and I got a lot of it. So anybody who's watching right now and they grow it and they're not getting enough leaves, just keep pinching. It's almost like every 2, 3 days you got to go and pinch it because it keeps growing the flowers rapidly.
That's right. I
oh,
have like a aero garden, which is like a little mini hydroponic thing, I will just stick the ends of the shadow bunny in there and just without the pod or anything, and just let it grow in there until I
Yeah.
that's the only way I could get it for during winter time, because the temperature, it just does not like that cool, not at all.
That's a good idea because my plants, I was trying to germinate in soil. Maybe I have two of those mini hydroponic systems. I'm
Yeah,
thinking now that you said that, I
yes,
can probably try that and see
try
what
it.
success I get with it.
And they sell the little pods that if you're not comfortable putting just the plant root in there, just put it in the pod. The ones that come without a seed in
Yeah,
it. Just the
the
whatever
conical pods. Yeah, yeah.
whatever that husk or whatever it is they make to put the seeds in. That should work for your shadow.
Mhm.
Try that.
I'll try it. Thanks.
Yep, this is where we can share some tips as well. If anyone's viewing right now, you got any little cooking tips or little hacks you want to share, post up a comment. You're never too old to learn. I sure maybe with a teach Chris. No, you can't teach Chris
I have
anything.
a question.
Chris,
I have
Chris
a
know all
question
the tricks.
for Chris. What are your views on the turmeric and the way that is being used?
Was that the
Turmeric.
question? A question for me?
Yes. The turmeric and the way that is being used. I was always told by my grandmother and my great grandmother that you shouldn't be using a whole lot of it because it makes your blood pressure drop. But the way I see they're putting it in soap and they're putting it in all kind of different things now, I'm wondering if you have any input there on that as a chef.
No, personally, I don't know the science behind it, so I'm not in a position where I can comment about the high blood pressure and stuff like that. But as with anything, moderation is key. I would say that because once you start going overboard with any one thing,
Mhm.
it tends to have negative effects, and that's just the nature of things, right? And you're quite correct because now I'm seeing the newest thing is turmeric ginger shots. I think that really intense
Yes. Yes.
shots that people take in the mornings and stuff like that. And at one point, they were saying everything was apple cider vinegar, and then people were finding out it was doing harm to your teeth and everything else.
That's right. Hmm.
So, yeah, growing up, it's one of those things. And my great aunt who lived next door to us, she had a field of it between the two houses, and I remember her digging it up like ginger. It grows like ginger, and she would dig it up and take it to the mill when she dried it and have it ground and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, the only thing is when curry or in dal, that's the only time she would ever use it, and that's the only time we typically would use it, and in moderation as well too, right?
Yes.
So
Agreed.
I don't know the science behind it, to be honest with you, whether it's hurting us or what it's actually doing to
I,
us.
I I know that the turmeric is really good for inflammation. So if you have
Yes.
like joint pains or inflammation in the body, it's really good to take that down like significantly. But you
Yes.
have to know how to make it. So I got this formula from my doctor, the same doctor, and it's with turmeric and ginger. Right? You grate the turmeric, you grate the ginger, and you fry it in some. You can use ghee if you have, or
Mhm.
butter, right? No, not butter. Sorry, you can use coconut oil, right?
Mhm.
Coconut oil, fry it in some coconut oil, and then let it simmer. When it starts to change color, gets a darker color, you sprinkle some black pepper. Now the black pepper is really important for it to be absorbed, okay, where you want it. So the black pepper, and then you put it to cool, a little spoonful every day in your tea, twice a day, and that takes care of the inflammation. Arthritic pains go away like within weeks, and I have tried it myself as well. Yeah, so I know that for certain. Being
And
a
I
blind,
was I
yeah,
was at a Nepalese restaurant in Toronto years ago,
yeah.
and they do a butter tea, but in that tea they also put the turmeric in there as well too.
Yes.
Yes.
Um,
It's quite pleasant.
growing up,
it
we
is.
had like in our I guess it's probably an Indian thing, but like for pregnant women after they give birth, there's something called karaha. It's made with turmeric, milk, and I think there's flour in it. I can't remember. I haven't. I mean, it's been years, but it
Right.
it was very helpful in helping them get rid of the afterbirth and any issues that they have after giving birth. That's one of the things I just stuck in my mind when she mentioned turmeric. And I think it's along the same lines as you mentioned, your doctor mentioned, Alex. I think there was some ginger in there as well, and probably something spicy. But yeah, all I remember is the name was Karahan. It was after a woman gave birth, they gave it to them to help flush their system and all of that.
Right.
One thing I saw recently, which was interesting, was one of the local spas here. They were advertising a turmeric scrub on the entire body for whoever visit, right? And it took me back to, I must have been 10 years old in Trinidad, and seeing the Hindu bride, I think a week before, sometime before, they would rub them down in it
Friday.
as
That's
well
right.
too.
That's
And I'm
right.
thinking,
Yeah.
look at that. Way back then, we didn't know the science behind it or how good it was for the skin,
And you had
but
to
we did it. And I'm like,
you had
too
to
many
rinse
years
it.
later, at the spa, you're paying top dollar for this now, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
There
and
are actually sandalwood and turmeric soaps that have been on the market for like for decades. They sandalwood and turmeric soaps, and it's really good for your skin. It scrubs, it brightens, cleans, removes impurities and all of that. Turmeric is really good. But again, like you said, everything in moderation, because
correct.
Everything in
too much
moderation.
of anything is good for
I
nothing.
know also that the turmeric cleans plaque out of the arteries, so it's good
Yes.
for, like, that's why it would drop the blood pressure. But you have to know how much to use. It's very potent, as we know. So finding a good formula would be, I think, an asset in this case.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
but the turmeric is really really good. It is medicinal. It's magical, and there's no shortage of it here in Trinidad. I'm not sure if you guys get turmeric, like
No,
organic turmeric.
we get it in all formats.
Yeah,
All kind of formats.
give me the
But
root. Yes, I want the
it,
root. I want the
it's
the original.
the things that we grew up knowing back home,
Yeah.
lemon, what they call fever grass,
Yes.
zephyr, all them kind of.
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
the things they are now touting as these brand new finds over here. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Oh.
I do this thing from since I small. What they talking about brand new find?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they have now discovered how to market it, I think.
Correct. That's the brand new find.
Marketing strategy.
Yeah, I saw there was actually Tulsi tea on the market. I was like, what? Since when? I love that. I had a Tulsi tree at home.
Whole day. Yeah.
Yeah, there's listen, everything I realize, especially these days with like pharmaceuticals or supplements, they always use extracts from the herbs, right? But
That's right.
for me, and I've learned to understand and appreciate that it's not the same as having the herb itself, because it has all the core factors in it that even if they extract some of it, it's not going to have everything else that you need holistically to do its thing,
Correct.
Yeah, real
And
herbs.
that's one of the things that I kind of regret growing up. Like my grandparents, they used so many different things from as medicine, and it's either I forgot or I didn't pay attention. But like now I'm like, man, what did they do back then? I remember things like with ginger and with um aloe and different things they used, and we had so much of it. The shining bush, and I can't even remember what they did with it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like lost knowledge that just
One of
missed out on.
the negative things about our culture, past culture, that is, especially if you grew up in rural Trinidad. I grew up in Guaracara, which is close to Tabaquite, is that you always, when the grown people were talking or doing something, you couldn't be part of it. They didn't allow you to be part of
No,
it.
they didn't.
And that is where that disconnect happens. So like yourself, who don't remember these things, it's not by choice. It's just we weren't encouraged to learn it as well too. That's the opposite. My father always insisted that, and this is why I grow my own food, and I'm teaching my son and my daughters and everybody else to grow their own food. And now his big thing is smelling everything, because that was all part of it. You pinch like when we go to the indoor the agriculture stores here, we would pinch. They have orange trees there. I want him to smell what the leaves smell like and all these different things. Is because I don't want that disconnect to happen with myself and him and his children and stuff like that. Because my father didn't allow that to happen with his generation, with us, me and my brother and my sisters. But the generation before them, my grandmother's time, She was 104 when she passed away, and she was full of knowledge, but
Oh,
refused to share it, man. Like my father barely knows patois because my great grandparents. He grew up with my great grandparents and my grandmother. Everybody spoke patois, but it ended with him. It didn't pass on to us because again, when they were talking, we were not allowed to be in the conversation and stuff like that. Funny story about the whole patois though. I went to school Mudsec, and for the first 3 years, you had to learn Spanish and French.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, with
Correct.
his patois, which is a raw form of French, tried to help me with my homework. My homework was always incorrect because Mister was giving me some old slang and all kind of things. But
Broken French.
but Alex, listen, my
yeah.
dad is my dad. He's right. So I'm arguing with the teacher now to make the corrections.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Agreed.
But yeah, but that disconnect, I think we always like with you all, you gotta pass on, what you know, the little you know, and the more you learn
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We spoke earlier about the turmeric and all that, but you look at the price. Have you ever seen the price of soursop in North America? Because they know it helps fight cancer and all these things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
things we
That's
grew
right.
up knowing, and right there we can pick it and eat it. We can no longer afford it. I hated fish when I was in the Caribbean, when I was home. Now I wish I could get fish every day. It's like
Ugh.
lake fish, and I don't want sweetwater fish. I want saltwater fish, man. It's like you tend to
You're
look
saying
back and
that you're saying that, and I remember hating karaili growing up my entire life. I would not eat pak choy or karaili. I crave that now. I actually have 4 frozen karaili in the deep
I
freeze.
love
well,
correct.
listen,
They call it
family,
bitter
you
lemon or
alone in
something.
that
Bitter lemon or
situation
bitter
there. I will
melon.
never like Corelli. I don't care how you cook it. You put
Yeah.
saltfish, you put whatever. I don't want it.
But you
I'm
know
there
the
Oh,
with
Corelli,
you.
no,
I'm
I've
not a
got
Corelli,
Corelli
creative
lover at
with
all.
that. I've got
the
I'm
really
not a
creative.
Corelli
Corelli.
Potatoes,
leaf.
tomatoes, anchar masala,
Yeah.
uh,
The
saltfish,
Corelli leaf,
whatever it
right?
is. I don't know. I eat it now and I love it.
The
And it's very
Corelli
good for diabetics. So I mean,
Yeah.
The
there's
leaf
some
from
there's
the
some good
Corelli
there.
is a really good like for it's like cortisone. It works like cortisone. Like if you get a skin infection, eczemas or like measles and stuff, they used to bathe us with this Corelli leaf. Boil the Corelli leaf and bathe you with it. And it
Well,
have little thorns in it. Soothing. Very, very
they
soothing.
make tea with the karaili leaves, the ban
Yes.
karaili, the
Yes,
tiny ban karaili one, the vines. They
yes,
make
I
tea with
have.
that, and it's very good for diabetics too.
My
Yes.
That
dad makes it with the big Corelli as well too, the bush.
Yes,
So in
correct.
the winter, during the summer, I plant it for him because he's diabetic and he loves the tea, right? And then
mhm.
mommy cooks the Corelli itself, and I cut it up and I put it into those vacuum seal bags first, so all winter they can use it as well. But I also planted the Bancarali, and it's a difficult plant to get here in Canada, but I did find it. And talk
Mhm.
about Bancarali, the whole backyard was full on the whole fence, to the point where the lady next door was complaining that my Corelli bush was going on her cedar tree and it's going to kill it. I'm like, lady, it's going to die in the winter. What are you talking about, man?
Right. Yeah, and we used to cook that karaili leaf, poi bhaji,
Yeah.
what's the other one? Chora bhaji, all of those in one, like all those leaves in one, and it was
Yeah.
pretty good. I mean,
Did your mom ever put pumpkin leaves in it?
yeah, pumpkin vine and pumpkin
Yeah.
leaves. Yeah, yep, yep. It's bringing back memories now. I was
Yes.
saying that I forgot stuff, but now I'm remembering all the teas and all the food and
The one
yeah.
thing I hated as a child growing up in Trinidad that I crave now and I can eat it every day is okra. I love okra in
Oh
everything that I
yeah,
make
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. Okra.
Okra always amazes me
Eating it
how it
raw
picks up
okra is good
every
too.
single piece of seasoning flavor in it. It's
Yeah,
so interesting
yeah,
how it does that because by
Yeah.
itself it's not necessarily a flavorful thing, but when you put it in with other things, it picks
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Well,
just
I saw
You know
okra
what I
water.
miss?
I
I
saw
miss
okra
this.
water trending on the TikTok recently. Everybody was drinking it for some reason.
the
Oh,
okra
Okay.
tea,
Okra
like
water. Just cut okra in water, you let steep,
it
and
brings
then they
Yeah,
were
down your
drinking it.
sugar level. It brings down
Oh.
your sugar level. For the people
yeah.
who taking diabetic checks every day, they recommend you drink a glass of that or something, and it brings down the sugar level like from
Oh, okay.
significantly. But it's a kind of dangerous thing because it does it quickly.
Okay, okay.
You know that have its own problems, but I would investigate that before I try that. But I know
Yeah.
people that have done it and did it, and they were fine. But they do warn that it does bring down the sugar level very, very quickly. It's interesting.
And Chris, you do a lot of cooking. So you remember when we used to make well, I don't know about you, but like I remember back in the day when we made murtani, it was tomatoes, baigan, bancarili,
Uh-huh.
okra, and hot pepper. I mean, like nowadays you see people making it and it's missing the bancarili and the okra. I don't know if that brings back any memories to you.
I still see people putting the okra in there, but I don't see them putting the ban karali at all in it because I don't know if is I've been to several markets in Trinidad. I don't even see the ban karali being sold. Like it's strange. It's almost as
Yeah,
if it's
because that's like
disappearing as
I
well
guess
too.
that's like what how you plant yours. People have a
Yeah,
preference for it, I guess.
yeah.
Probably that's why.
My dad likes it the ban karali because he says the more it's a bit more pungent, a bit more bitter than the.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the Indian have the really green skin. It almost look like thorn like on the outside. I don't know how the
Right.
Indians call that one, but it's almost a small version to that. I have one for you all. I don't know if you all remember this, and my grandmother had it on her bathroom, growing on the wall on the outside on the wall. It was a tiny cucumber, maybe an inch, and we used to snack on it. I don't know if you guys remember
It was
that one, but a
round.
couple years ago, I planted it, and again, man, talk about cucumbers. It was tiny. It's only about an inch long, and you can pop the entire thing in your mouth and then chew on it.
Oh,
Yes, I
interesting.
remember those. But they,
I
weren't
don't
they
I don't
round in shape?
I
Say
don't
again.
recall that one.
Weren't
That
they
that
round in shape?
It's exactly like a real like a normal cucumber, which is 6 8 inches or something. But this one is only
Mm.
about an inch, and
ah,
it looks like a capsule. That's a capsule with little, almost like a zebra print on the outside. If you're looking at the green and the white stripes on it.
okay. I
I
got
Like
remember the
actually,
tiny ones that were
actually,
round.
if a couple of years ago it trended on Twitter on Instagram, and they were called cucamelons. CAMELONS. So if you search cucamelons, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I
Camelon.
remember in the countryside in Barakar, we had that growing wild all over the place, and it trended on Instagram.
look at that.
I remember something similar, but they were round and the vines were short. They were close. The fruit was closer together. You know, like on the vine, it'll be spread out a bit. But
Yeah.
these were like they were like little plums, but closer together. That I
No,
remember.
these
I
were
think it's
more of a
probably.
capsule shape, like your
Mhm.
finger, but maybe one joint of your finger kind of thing.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I
Mm.
gotta look for that.
Yeah, I don't know where to look for that, but if I see it, I'll have to eat.
But on
Cucumber
Tabaki.
melon.
You gotta go up Tabakit. Now I haven't seen
Tabakit.
it in a long time going back
Right.
home as well too. Because even when I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, "Yeah, we don't see that around here anymore," kind of thing.
Mm.
Wow. But I mean, I'm glad that we have all these great crops in the Caribbean. I think I would miss just like Saru misses. It's like it's difficult to get stuff, and you have to either travel, but I think I would miss having the natural the foods that we have, the herbs and the provisions and the fruits, and they're so readily available and people take them for granted. I love my citrus. Is citrus the same? I want to ask this question. Is citrus pretty much the same? Let's talk oranges. You eat an orange in Trinidad. Is it the same as an orange in Canada, an orange in Montana, orange in New
I
Jersey?
think it's very different. The oranges are like sugar, like bare sugar. You understand?
Oh,
Some of them don't have seeds. So it make you wonder, like, oh well, how they produce it in the first place? It have no seeds. But
okay, so it's not
most
organic.
of the
So
oranges I've had, sweet. Don't
the
need to think.
worst things I've got here were the first eggplant I bought. It was bitter, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna eat that again." But I tried again, and I did. I got good ones. But like
Uh-huh.
the avocados, any fruits we get up this way, especially if they're like coming from Florida or California, they're harvested before they're mature, so
Right.
they get here and they ripen and they have no flavor. Like
Right.
avocados, I feel like we took one of our friends from Montana to Trinidad. We went on vacation in Tobago, and she had an avocado at my friend's house, outside of her house, with a spoon, and she enjoyed that immensely because the difference is, I mean, it's
Very
extremely
different.
different. The quality, the flavor, the taste, texture, everything is different. We where I am, we don't get. I would say the quality and the maturity of the fruit and vegetables aren't there. And if you buy something and you have to refrigerate it, it's melted in like 2 days. Yeah, it's nothing like Trinidad. And I'm used to, my whole life grew up, we had everything from dashing bush to mangoes, citrus, peppers. We grew every single thing, you know, and we hardly ever had to buy vegetables. We'd actually sell it. But here, I have to be cautious of what I buy, because I'm like, if I'm not cooking it right away, it's just going to melt.
Exactly. The avocados in particular, well, here you have the different kinds. You have this little rough one that comes from Mexico. You have the big giant ones. I don't know where those come from. But, you know, we've been lucky with getting it out of Brooklyn, and here too. We get it here in New Jersey as well. But the big ones in particular, you have to be careful, because they're very green, it seems. And you have to leave it for a good few days in its brown bag, the brown bag science, for it to ripen. Yeah.
Wow.
And carbide, brown paper bag and carbide to ripen faster.
Alex, I'm full of stories, man. And one of my stories is years ago, I was at a prominent grocery store here in Hamilton. It's called Fortino's.
Yes.
And I'm in the mango section. The fruit section is beautiful to look at because they have the lighting and everything down, and you want to buy it and bring it home, right? But it's the same experience that the ladies have with it. When you bring it home, it's a different story. So I pick up the mango and I'm smelling it, and I'm like smelling it and stuff like that. The white lady looked at me. She's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Lady, listen. If there isn't a smell coming out of this mango, this mango is not going in my car. It is not going into my house. It's not going into any of my children's mouth." She goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, it's supposed to have a fragrance about it." And on that note, I've been in Canada 30-something years. I haven't had a banana once because I had once and never after. Because they pick it green, as the ladies mentioned. They pick it green. They pick it. It's not mature yet because you got to figure the journey here, right? And once it gets a certain shelf life, and the taste is just, there's no taste, there's no flavor, nothing. And I think you're right, because I think the oranges are bred for sweetness, nothing else. They want it to be sweet, so it lacks that true orange flavor. And how I know that is I peel oranges like we old school peel in Trinidad, and hang it up to make my orange peel tea.
Right.
And I kid you not, I put 4 orange peel tea in that little 2 cups of water, and it has no flavor, man. I'm like, what happened to my orange peel tea?
There you go.
That's funny that you said that, because I took my husband to the supermarket one day and I was sniffing the mangoes, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
So,
if you can't smell it,
so the foreigners don't like, give the sniff test with their fruits. They just pick it up and buy it. Okay,
just pick it up. It's all about appearance, right? And this is why I said, you look at the grocery stores here. There's certain lights, those white lights that face down to the fruits, so the red and the oranges and the yellows. They want to make it so appealing. And you'll see the rest of the store is kind of dark, but on the fruit and vegetables, you look at it and you're like, man, that looks good, boy.
They're waxed and polished. You have to wash them in hot water to get it off too. Yes,
Alex, earlier you asked about breadfruit. I think the talk about breadfruit came up. The last year or so in Canada, we used to get really good breadfruit here. You pay a premium for it, so it's like $4 or $5 a pound. So you figure a 5-pound breadfruit, you're looking at about $30 or something. You multiply that by 5 or 6 to bring it to TT dollars, and you see how expensive we're paying for it. Yeah. But lately, the breadfruit is so small, it's almost you can play cricket with the thing, man. It's like, what do you do with this?
Green.
And it's hard, and it's young inside, it's white inside, not that beautiful yellow color if you roast it or steam it or whatever. So we're struggling for a good breadfruit lately, man.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, my suspicions were correct. It is challenging to get, a lot of the items that we need to make, Trini meals. We can improvise, can accept, what we have, but it's difficult. So, still kudos to you guys, because I still see you posting up, Chris.
Well, here's the thing. I complain about the breadfruit, but you go to the frozen section and you buy the frozen cassava, guaranteed to boil soft in 10 minutes. Perfect. We don't need to peel it. It's already peeled. It's already just salted water, and you're good. So when I complain about one, I also, you got to give thanks for what we have available as well, too, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Because I had no idea it had so many different kinds of dasheen. And they call it taro root.
Yeah.
About 5-6 different versions, and none of them is what we know in Trinidad. So you have to kind of...
Yeah, no true blue food. You ain't getting blue food up here.
Yeah. No crab biting or dasheen at all. That's what you know the good dasheen is. One day you see the little pecks of the dasheen itself. You know the crabs eating it and the crabs eating it. That's a good one. So that's the one I want. Yeah, I love it,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you so much. I want to any closing comments before we shut it down inside this episode.
Yeah, I need to connect with the two of you so I can ask you to ship me some stuff when I run out.
Yeah, I will do that.
Got you.
Absolutely. Scouts honor on that one.
Anytime,
And
anytime.
I'll send you some doubles and some bus up shot and stuff.
All
Just
right,
let me
all
know.
There
right.
you go.
You know what?
You know, earlier there, I saw you held back when you mentioned the name of the shipper that who shipped the stuff. And I think sometimes we need to mention the name, not necessarily mention the name. It's the only way for them to be able to correct any mistakes. They won't know unless we tell them. I mean, I say
True.
you're not saying it in a bad way. It's just that it comes up in conversation, and you know it could be a marketing tool for them as well too. Because the same way you said it didn't arrive in the best of conditions, once they correct it, I mean to say it's the only way
Yeah,
for them to know, right?
I did let them know, and then I got a second shipment, and the same thing happened. So
Oh my
I
Oh, well, there
gosh.
you go.
Oh no.
they had room for corrective action. They didn't take
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Once it's an accident, twice it's a habit.
Because I get a lot of hate. You know, from time to time I do these gallivanting videos, and lately I've been trying to find hot doubles. I'm not talking about spicy, hot,
Right.
temperature hot. And Toronto has good doubles. I'll give them that. They're beautiful doubles in Toronto, but they're always lukewarm. I want to burn my hand when I pick it up, man. Come on.
Right. Yeah, because you want to be able to oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's too hot, Yeah. Lukewarm doubles, yes. Oh no. Well, that's how it goes. But yeah, I'm really glad we were able to have this conversation, and I'm so happy that we were able to do this together. So I mean, keep doing what you're doing. Keep on, Chris talking to you, doing your videos and expanding, because I know that they're great things. That you're doing great things, and for everything you mentioned to me when we were off air that you were involved in, man, I don't know how you're still, keeping your sanity, but you're doing it, so just keep on doing it. I'm rooting for you, and I'm still supporting you. As a matter of fact, I still play your videos on my show. I changed my shift time on the radio, and I'm still playing your videos live on air, so you're still getting the mileage.
My good friend David Wares messaged me, I think was last week or the week before, and he says, "Man, I just heard your Scotch bonnet pepper piece on the radio. I loved it." I was like,
that was me. Yeah. Awesome. Yep. So good stuff. Lisa, thanks for joining us. And I know you're probably going to be whipping up something healthy. I'm going to see you in Trinidad next week or sometime when you're coming in.
Yes,
next week.
but that's going to happen, trust.
Yeah, so you'll load up a special suitcase with all the ingredients you need to make whatever you have to when you get back up there.
Indeed.
Yeah. And Sarojini, thank you so much, all the way in Montana. So now it's like what? About 5 o'clock on your side.
5:03, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much. Yeah, I love your kitchen, Sarah. It looks really clean. I love a clean kitchen.
Thank you.
Alex, I'll leave you with one little to do, a little chore.
Yes.
When you see Power, tell him I like to go on cruise ship too,
I was telling him, I said, I want to see that cruise ship. He's like, well, boy, they have some restrictions.
He gave me a call. He gave me a call about 6 months ago, I think, and he told me he was heading out to Africa to do some stuff out there. Yes. He had a time in Africa, boy. Wow.
Oh yes, he travels all over the world. He does his thing.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. So when he comes in, we'll take some pictures or some videos, and we'll post it up so you'll see us having fun out here. Yeah.
I appreciate everything, man.
Yeah.
Ladies, it was certainly a pleasure, and I hope we can do this.
Same here.
Same here.
Yeah, we'll do it again real soon. Okay, guys, have a good weekend. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. So thanks again for tuning in to episode 2 of the Foreign Link Up. This is where we, chat with our Trinis around the world and find out what they're doing and have some nice little conversations. So until the next one, which will be sometime really soon, who knows who we'll be chatting with. You have to, of course, follow us on the Foreign Link Up or on Facebook. You can follow me as well. I am Alex Assing on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as on Instagram. And let's keep in touch, all right? Take care, guys. God bless.